My wife secretly stole from me for years. When I found out, I let her think she got away with it. Then, I made her regret everything. The first sign of financial betrayal. Trust is a fragile thing. You build it over years, brick by brick, believing that the person by your side values it as much as you do. I thought my wife, Lisa, and I had that kind of trust. Until the day I noticed the first crack. It started small, something most people wouldn't even pay attention to. A notification from our joint bank account about a withdrawal I didn't recognize. Just a few $100s. At first, I assumed it was a bill I had forgotten about. Life had been hectic, and Lisa usually handled most of our household finances. But then it happened again, and again. Each time, the amounts varied, sometimes a couple of hundred, sometimes 1,000, but they always followed the same pattern. Late at night, just before the bank's daily transaction reports reset. Curious, I casually asked Lisa about our finances over dinner one evening. Hey, did you make a few withdrawals this week? Some things popped up on the account that I don't remember. She didn't even look up from her plate. Oh yeah, just groceries and a few things for the house. Nothing big. Something about the way she said it, so effortlessly, without a hint of hesitation, should have reassured me. But it didn't. The numbers didn't add up. That night, while she slept, I checked our bank statements more carefully. My stomach twisted as I scrolled through the transactions. Hidden among the expected bills and expenses were purchases I couldn't explain, high-end boutiques, expensive salon visits, even transactions at a jewelry store. Things Lisa never mentioned. Things she had no reason to buy. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. Maybe she was buying gifts for family. Maybe she had planned a surprise for our anniversary. Maybe. I stopped making excuses for her. The sinking feeling in my gut told me the truth I wasn't ready to admit. Lisa was hiding something, but I wasn't going to confront her yet. Not until I knew exactly what she was up to. I spent the next few weeks gathering evidence. I checked our bank statements daily, tracking every transaction Lisa made. I went back months, even years, and what I found made my blood run cold. She had been doing this for a long time. Tens of thousands of dollars had disappeared over the years. Some withdrawals were small, designed to go unnoticed, while others were blatant transfers to an unknown account. She wasn't just spending extra money. She was systematically siphoning funds. At first, I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. Maybe she had secret debts. Maybe she was helping a family member. But the more I uncovered, the clearer the truth became. Lisa was living a double life. Then I found her other account. One night, while she was in the shower, I accessed her laptop. She always kept it locked, but months of watching her had taught me her password habits. It took me 3 tries before I got in. And there it was, an entirely separate bank account under her name. The balance? Over $85,000. Money she had taken from me. My hands clenched into fists as I scrolled through her transactions. Luxury purchases, weekend getaways, extravagant dinners, all without me. Some of the charges weren't even local. Trips I had never been on, hotels I had never stayed in. But it got worse. A transaction history tied to another man's name. I felt the air leave my lungs. It wasn't just about the money anymore. Lisa had been spending it on someone else. Everything inside me screamed to confront her right then and there, but I forced myself to breathe. If I exploded now, she'd deny it, twist the truth, maybe even try to manipulate me into believing I had misunderstood. No, I needed more. I needed undeniable proof. The next day, I took a detour after work. I had found receipts for a high-end hotel she had booked, one with dates lining up suspiciously well with times she had told me she was visiting her sister. I told myself I was being paranoid, but my instincts had never been sharper. I walked into the hotel lobby, my heart pounding in my chest. "Excuse me," I said to the receptionist, forcing a polite smile. "I think my wife left something in the room she stayed in last weekend." "Lisa Reynolds? Room 214. The receptionist barely glanced up. "Oh, yes, I remember her. She stayed with." She stopped abruptly, realizing her mistake. My stomach dropped. "With who?" I pressed, keeping my voice even. She hesitated, clearly debating whether or not she had just violated guest privacy. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't disclose." "It's fine," I said, already knowing the answer. "I appreciate your help." I walked out of the hotel, my vision blurred with rage. The betrayal wasn't just financial anymore. It was complete. Lisa had lied to me about everything, but I wasn't going to let her know I knew. Not yet. I was going to make sure that when I confronted her, she would have nowhere to run. The secret plan to destroy her. I had all the proof I needed, but I wasn't going to confront Lisa. Not yet. If I wanted to make sure she paid for every lie, every stolen dollar, I had to be patient. I had to be smart. I started by securing my finances. Over the next few weeks, I slowly and methodically transferred my remaining money into new accounts under my name alone. I closed credit cards we shared, set up new ones, and redirected my paycheck to an entirely separate bank. Lisa still thought she was in control, still believed she was siphoning money undetected. But in reality, she was about to hit a brick wall. Next, I hired a private investigator. If she had been stealing from me for this long, I needed to know the full extent of her deceit. The investigator didn't take long to confirm what I suspected. Lisa wasn't just spending the money lavishly. She was funding a separate life. A life with him. The man's name was Ryan Carter. He was younger than me, worked at some upscale marketing firm, and, according to the investigator, was completely unaware that Lisa was married. To him, she was just an independent, wealthy woman who could afford spontaneous trips and high-end gifts. She had been living a fantasy built with my money. That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. First, I let her continue spending. Except now, every dollar she withdrew was being traced. I documented everything, building an irrefutable case against her. I compiled transactions, timestamps, even security footage from the banks where she made her withdrawals. I wanted her to think she was still winning, that she had everything under control. Then, I prepared the final blow. I went to our lawyer under the guise of discussing estate planning. In reality, I was setting up my escape. I had divorce papers drawn up, along with a lawsuit for fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. Lisa wouldn't just lose everything. She would be forced to repay what she had taken. But that wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel what it was like to have the rug pulled from under her feet, to watch everything she built on deception come crashing down. So I set the trap. One evening, I told her I had to leave town for a business trip. I even packed a suitcase and left the house, making sure she saw me go. But I didn't leave. Instead, I checked into a hotel across town and waited. As expected, Lisa saw my absence as an opportunity. That very night, she withdrew nearly $10,000 from our joint account, an account she believed was still linked to my finances. The next morning, she tried to access it again, and that's when she realized. The account was empty. The phone call came within minutes. I stared at the screen as her name flashed, letting it ring until it stopped. Then it rang again, and again. By the fifth call, I answered. "Something wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "Our money is gone," she cried. "I just tried to take some out," and she stopped. "Wait, you knew, didn't you?" I chuckled, the sound slow and deliberate. "Lisa, you've been stealing from me for years. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" The silence on the other end was deafening. "I'll see you at home," I said, then hung up. Lisa had no idea that her nightmare was only just beginning. Lisa was waiting when I got home. Her face was flushed, her breathing ragged, half from rage, half from fear. She had spent the entire day scrambling, trying to figure out what had happened to her money. "Where is it?" she demanded the second I stepped inside. "Where's our money?" I dropped my keys onto the counter, took off my coat slowly, and turned to face her. "You mean my money? The money you've been stealing from me for years?" Her lips parted slightly. She wasn't expecting me to be so direct. I don't know what you're talking about." I laughed. A cold, humorless sound. "Lisa, I've known for months. I know about the secret account. I know about the withdrawals. I know about Ryan." Her face drained of color. "Yeah," I continued, watching her crumble. "I know about your little boyfriend, too. I know how you've been using my money to take him on vacations, buy him gifts. How does he feel about all this? Does he know you're married?" "I can explain," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, just let me." I held up a hand, cutting her off. "No, Lisa. No more lies. No more excuses. I gave you everything, and you spent years betraying me." Her hands trembled as she took a step closer. "But I love you. You love money," I corrected. "And now, you have none." She flinched like I had struck her. "I've already filed for divorce," I continued, pulling a thick envelope from my briefcase and tossing it onto the table. "And before you even think about trying to fight me for anything, don't bother. Every cent you stole is documented. Every fraudulent withdrawal. Every transfer." Her eyes darted to the envelope like it might explode. "I'm suing you for fraud," I added. "You won't just walk away with nothing. You'll be in debt to me for years." I made sure of that. She let out a broken sob, gripping the edge of the table for support. "Please, you can't do this. We can fix this. I made mistakes, but I stepped forward, leaning in just enough that she could see the absolute finality in my eyes. "Lisa, you made your choice. Now, you have to live with it." Tears streamed down her face as reality settled in. The house, the car, the lifestyle, everything she had built on lies, was crumbling around her. But I wasn't done yet. As she stood there, broken, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Right on time. I pulled it out and smirked. "Oh, look at that." Lisa wiped her tears, blinking at me in confusion. "What?" I turned the screen toward her. "Ryan just got my message. I sent him everything." She let out a strangled gasp. "No." "Oh, yes. Screenshots of your transfers. Pictures of us. A full breakdown of how you funded your relationship with him using my money." Lisa's entire body shook. She scrambled for her phone, hands trembling as she dialed. It rang. Once. Twice. Then went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. I sighed dramatically. "Looks like he's not picking up. Maybe he doesn't love you as much as you thought." Her phone slipped from her hands, clattering onto the floor. She looked at me, her eyes hollow, all traces of defiance gone. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door. "I'll send someone for my things," I said over my shoulder. "You have a week to get out. The house is in my name, too." She made a sound, somewhere between a sob and a plea, but I didn't stop. I walked out, letting the door close behind me. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't look back as I walked away from Lisa that night. I had spent years being blind to the truth, years allowing her to deceive me while she built a secret life behind my back. But now, I was the one in control. Over the next few days, I watched as her world collapsed. The bank froze the fraudulent account she had set up, the credit cards she had opened in my name were flagged, and the financial cushion she had depended on for years vanished overnight. She had nothing left. Then came the true humiliation. Ryan finally responded, but not in the way Lisa had hoped. He sent her a single message. "You lied to me. Lose my number." I knew because she tried calling me the moment she got it. I didn't answer. Let her sit in the mess she created. But Lisa wasn't done yet. 3 days later, she showed up at my office. Mia, my assistant, buzzed me. "Sir, Lisa is here. She's demanding to see you." I smirked. "Send her in." Moments later, she stormed through the door, her eyes red from crying, her once pristine appearance disheveled. "Please," she gasped. "Just give me 5 minutes." I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands in front of me. "Go ahead. Talk." She stepped forward, desperate. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I was lost. I got caught up in the money, in the lifestyle. I thought I needed more. But now I see. I lost the only thing that truly mattered." I raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Tears streamed down her face. "You." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Lisa, do you honestly think I'm stupid enough to believe that? You didn't love me. You loved what I could give you. And the second you thought you could get more somewhere else, you didn't hesitate to throw me away." She fell to her knees. "Please, I have nothing left. I don't even have a place to stay. Just help me." I stood up, walked around my desk, and crouched so we were at eye level. "Lisa, you stole from me. You cheated on me. You left me thinking I was nothing. And now you expect me to save you." She nodded frantically, gripping my wrist. "I made a mistake. I can change." I pried her fingers off me and stood. "You're not my responsibility anymore. You made sure of that the day you chose him over me." Her body shook with sobs. "I don't know what to do." I grabbed an envelope from my desk and handed it to her. She hesitated before opening it. When she saw what was inside, she looked up at me, confused. "What is this?" "A job application," I said simply. "I heard the diner downtown is hiring waitresses. Seems like a perfect fit." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Humiliation colored her face a deep shade of red. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual business to handle," I said, walking to the door and holding it open. "Goodbye, Lisa." She stared at me for a long moment before finally realizing this was truly the end. With a broken nod, she clutched the envelope to her chest and walked out of my life for good. As the door closed behind her, I let out a slow breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time, Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about knowing that I had won. After Lisa walked out of my office for the last time, I expected to feel triumphant. I had taken everything back, exposed her lies, and ensured she would never benefit from my success again. And yet, as I sat back in my chair, staring out at the city skyline, I felt something unexpected. Relief. For years, I had carried the weight of her betrayal, allowing it to dictate my every move. At first, my anger fueled me, pushing me to build a better life, not just for myself, but to prove to her, to Ryan, to everyone that I was more than what she had reduced me to. But now I realized that I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I had already won, not because I had destroyed her, but because I had let go. Lisa would spend the rest of her life regretting what she had done, but I wouldn't waste another second thinking about her. Her downfall was just a consequence of her own choices. Meanwhile, I had an entire future ahead of me, one free of deceit, of doubt, of the toxic weight of a woman who had never truly loved me. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. I went for a run, breathing in the crisp morning air, feeling every step take me further from my past. By the time I got back to my apartment, I had made a decision. It was time to move forward. I packed up the last remnants of our old life. Pictures, mementos, anything that tied me to Lisa, and tossed them into a box. I didn't burn them, didn't smash them in some dramatic display. I simply left the box outside, ready for it to be picked up with the rest of the things I no longer needed. That night, I met up with friends. Real friends. People who had stood by me even when I had been too blind to see what Lisa was doing. I laughed. I drank. I enjoyed the feeling of being present. And for the first time in a long time, I was free. Lisa had stolen from me, lied to me, broken me. But in the end, she was the one who lost everything. And I had gained something priceless. Peace.